What if Noah's Ark didn't land where we were told? What if the world's oldest temple, Göbekli Tepe, holds clues to a cataclysm so ancient it shaped all human memory? And why, just as the world took notice, did Turkey tighten control over its secrets? Today on the obelisk we dig into the stones of a 12,000-year-old enigma where archaeology, myth and forbidden questions collide. Now let's set expectations here. This isn't a tin-foiled hat pointing at the moon claiming it's cheese moment. Even though maybe Gromit was right. No, let's stay grounded in reality here. This video is pointing out historical evidence and creating questions, creating discourse to hopefully be able to work out the truth. So, engage in the comments with your thoughts. I read every comment. Sorry to interrupt your video. This is the part of the video where I ask you to subscribe. Thanks. Back to the video. Göbekli Tepe, the first temple. Discovered in 1994, Göbekli Tepe rewrote history. Dated to 9600 BCE, it predates the pyramids, maybe, Stonehenge, even farming. This wasn't a village, not a city, but something stranger. A ritual complex built by hunter-gatherers who carved 20-ton pillars into beasts on gods. Why? Well, some say that this was ancestor worship, others a celestial observation, or even a calendar, which we're going to look into at one point. Some say it's an ancient civilization that was just as technologically advanced as we are, in some aspects anyway. One thing is certain. Whoever built this knew things that we've now forgotten. The animal stones, warning or worship. Foxes, vultures, scorpions, snakes. Every pillar is a menagerie. The mainstream view, tribal totems or sacred animals. Other theories, the vulture stone, which is pillar 43, might depict a comet striking Earth, possibly linked to the younger Dryas climate catastrophe 12,800 years ago. The timing is eerie, and all it's done is create more questions than answers. Like, did these people survive a disaster and carve its memory into stone? Floating through fire and ice, the younger Dryas flood hypothesis. Now imagine the sky cracking open, a comet slams into the earth, not with the roar of thunder, but the silent precision of extinction. 12,800 years ago, at the very tail end of the Ice Age, something happened. Scientists call it the Younger Dryas impact hypothesis, a theory suggesting a cosmic event triggered massive climate chaos, global wildfires, and a sudden plunge into an ice-cold millennium. But more than that, it may have unleashed colossal floods, vast ice sheets across North America and Europe fractured, dams and glacial meltwaters burst, oceans surged, rivers overflowed. Regions that are now Iraq, Syria and Turkey may have turned into temporary seas and high grounds like the one we now call Göbekli Tepe, which became an isolated island in the ocean of destruction. Now picture yourself among those early survivors. You've built a little wooden vessel, not because you wanted to escape, but because something warned you. Your people are now on board. The animals around you, the sky is dark, the land disappears, you drift for days, weeks, maybe even months, and the waters prevailed upon the earth 150 days. Genesis 7:24. Could the 150 days of flooding in Noah's story reflect not fantasy, but the true experience of a prehistoric deluge? Today, the Missoula floods in North America and the Black Sea deluge hypothesis show that cataclysmic flooding can happen in mere days, but take months to fully subside. A vessel caught in such chaos might float for weeks or even months before grounding on high ground. Now let's get back to the end of the flood, not the beginning. In Genesis 8:4, the Bible says, "And the ark rested upon the mountains of Ararat." Now notice something important. It doesn't say Mount Ararat, singular. It says mountains, a range, a region. Not necessarily the snowy peak in modern day Turkey we point to today. But here's where things get even more interesting. In the Epic of Gilgamesh, the ark doesn't land in Ararat at all. It comes to rest on Mount Nisir, a mountain we haven't located with certainty, but scholars suggest it lies in the Zagros Mountains, further southeast, closer to the Iran-Iraq borders. On the 7th day, the boat came to rest on Mount Nisir. The Epic of Gilgamesh 11, line 140. But Gilgamesh isn't even the oldest version. We've found at least 2 other older Mesopotamian flood stories, and their landing sites differ again. In the Atrahasis epic, the 17th century BCE, the ark's landing site isn't named, but is implied to be somewhere near the mouth of the Tigris and Euphrates, as the gods re-established the humanity there. In the Sumerian flood story, the earliest of them all, the ark comes to rest on a mountain called Ker, often translated simply as mountain or foreign land, possibly again referring to the Zagros or symbolic eastern mountain. So across these 3, we get different versions and different mountains, but all in a similar arc of territory, from eastern Anatolia to the Zagros range, a seismic, flood-prone region where memory might have fossilized into myth. And nestled in the same broad region of eastern Turkey sits one of the most ancient high places, Göbekli Tepe. Myth, memory and megaliths. Noah's Ark, the deluge, the rebirth of civilization, these aren't just spiritual tales, they could be echoes of a real survival story passed down through millennia, shaped by fires in the sky and oceans where there was once land. And Göbekli Tepe, it could stand as a silent witness, older than any temple, older than the current flood myths that we have within the Bible, and even older than the Epic of Gilgamesh. So we have to ask, could it be that the flood narrative carved into our religious memories is not divine allegories, but the memory of the waters unleashed by the younger Dryas? And if so, what other truths are buried beneath the soils of Göbekli Tepe? Digging restrictions and what they hide. Turkey hasn't stopped excavations, but access is a lot tighter. Officially, the reason is preservation. Göbekli Tepe is fragile, exposed to air, moisture and human traffic causes erosion. Every brushstroke of excavation risks damaging millennia-old carvings. But unofficially, rumours swirl. Researchers have reported changes, tightened protocols, sudden site closures, and fewer international teams allowed in. Some archaeologists have been pulled from projects mid-season without public explanation. And then there's the Karhan Tepe, a site just 35 kilometers away. It features humanoid statues, abstract carvings and T-shaped pillars similar to Göbekli Tepe. In fact, some experts believe it might even be older, yet unlike Göbekli Tepe, Karahan Tepe receives almost no media attention. Footage is limited, excavation updates are vague, and while Turkish officials hint at a grand archaeological narrative, the details remain sealed behind bureaucracy. Why? What are these sites showing us that's so sensitive? Could it be that the timelines, hunter-gatherers building megalithic temples, don't align with our current model of human history? Or could it be that these ruins suggest a level of organisation, astronomical knowledge, or cultural continuancy that predates everything we thought we knew? Is it simple red tape, or is this the quiet recalibration of human history before the public even knows it's changed? Every culture remembers. The story of the flood isn't just biblical, it's a global memory, passed down, reshaped and reimagined across continents and cultures. Mesopotamia, in the Epic of Gilgamesh, we meet Upnap, a man warned by the gods of an oncoming flood. He builds a vast boat, fills it with animals and craftsmen, and survives the deluge that drowns the world. This tale predates Genesis by over 1,000 years. In Greece, Zeus grows weary of humanity's wickedness. He floods the world, sparing only the virtuous and his wife, who survive by setting sail in a wooden chest. After the waters recede, they repopulate the world by casting stones over their shoulders that transform into people. In India, the Sanskrit scriptures tell of Manu, a wise king warned by a talking fish, who is actually the god Vishnu in disguise. The fish urges Manu to build a boat. When the floods come, Manu ties his vessel to the horn of the fish, who guides him to safety across the raging waters. And beyond, in China, the story of Yu the Great speaks of a cataclysmic flood that reshapes the land and led the founding of the first dynasty. In the Americas, the Maya, Inca, and Hopi each preserve their own flood traditions, often as part of cosmic cycles of destruction and rebirth. In Africa, Aboriginal Australia, and the Pacific Islands, echoes of the flood myth ripple through oral traditions, carvings, and starscapes. These aren't mere coincidences. They may not even all stem from the same event, but they echo the same experience. A world-ending flood, divine warning, survival by vessel, and rebirth. Science backs a kernel of truth. Geologists have identified real flood events that could have inspired these tales. The Black Sea deluge around 5600 BCE saw rising Mediterranean waters crash through the Bosporus, flooding the basin with force and speed. Villages along the shore vanished. This flood may have been sudden, violent, and unforgettable. But here's the twist. Göbekli Tepe was already buried by then. Archaeological layers show it was intentionally covered by 8000 BCE, nearly 2500 years before the Black Sea flood. So if the site's builders were preserving memory in stone, what disaster were they remembering? Was there an older flood, an earlier trauma etched into the cultural DNA, passed through generations until the pen of Moses, the chisel of a Sumerian priest, or the ink of a Hindu sage gave it form? Or did something truly cosmic like the Younger Dryas impact split history in two, transforming not just the climate but the psyche of a species? Whatever the source, the message remains. We were warned, we survived, we remembered. So here's a fact. Göbekli Tepe was intentionally buried around 8000 BCE. Why? To preserve it? To hide it? Or because what it represented became taboo? We may never know, but the stones whisper. Something happened here, something worth remembering. So do you think that Göbekli Tepe guards a lost truth? Or is it something deeper, a testament to humanity's oldest fear and hope? Comment your theory, subscribe for deep dives into buried pasts, and stay curious. The oldest ruins still speak. Thanks for watching, take care.